Now, look, Brad, there's something very odd going on in the skies above New Jersey where mysterious drones have been reported by thousands. And now local officials are taking matters into their own hands. They claim the Department of Defense and Joe Biden are refusing to help. Have a listen to this.
Sheriff Golden wrote me a few days ago requesting legislation to empower the state police to seriously protect at-risk persons and infrastructure, and if necessary, bring down a dangerous drone or drones.
Now, among all the conspiracy theories which have emerged, I've got to say this was quite funny because Trump has taken to X to troll former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Have a look at this, sharing an image of Christie enjoying a McDonald's Happy Meal delivered by the drones. Brad, so many unanswered questions about these drones. What's actually happening? Whose drones are they?
Well, the crazy thing, Danica, is that we don't know days into this strange phenomenon where people are seeing these very large, clearly identifiable drones in New Jersey, and you're seeing them across social media. People are reporting them. We don't know what they are. The government won't tell us, and I refuse to believe that they don't know. I really find that hard to believe that the federal government don't know, though it is possible that some branches of the government know and some don't. I think the most likely explanation is that these are our drones, that they are some form of government drone that belong to the CIA or some branch of the federal government, because otherwise you get into weird territory like aliens, but that doesn't make sense that they would use technology so similar to US or other countries' drones. Or could they belong to another country? Because then I find it very hard to believe that the US wouldn't have blown them out of the sky. I mean, do we really not have sovereign airspace anymore? The whole thing is a strange and perverse story, but it does go to show kind of the credibility crisis in our federal government under this Biden-Harris administration. I mean, you've got Alejandro Mayorkas, top Biden official, on TV saying, oh, people are mostly just confused. These are the kind of drones you can just buy at a store. No, sir. I mean, some of them are 7 to 8 feet wide. That's not something you can just buy at a store. They're flying in patterns. They're confusing people and scaring people. And people want to be able to look to our government and get real answers and trust them, but they have a credibility crisis. And it's in moments like this when that's a real problem.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump has said either identify them or shoot them out of the sky. So he knows where he stands. Back on Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they received a very warm welcome when they attended the traditional Army versus Navy football game over the weekend. But, Brad, what got my attention was the national anthem. Trump was saluting. Vance was standing to attention. It seems like patriotism is back.
Yeah, it's not surprising to me that they found a receptive audience there. The military is overwhelmingly supportive of them. And it is funny to me because I saw people online complaining that when they were watching this game, they barely showed Vance and Trump. But when you watch an NFL game, it'll cut to Taylor Swift 10 plus times. And who knows if that's true? I didn't tune in. I'm overseas right now. But I think it's interesting what pockets of life you'll see huge public displays of patriotism and support for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and which ones you won't. And it tells you something about American culture that he's so overwhelmingly popular in kind of everyday recreation and sports like the NFL, or not the NFL, like college football, or like UFC fights. And yet in Hollywood or kind of elite circles in those camps, he would get a very different reception. So I think that we're seeing America silo off in ways that's interesting, but also revealing in terms of our cultural phenomenon and how politics intersects with it all.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Brad. Now, look, before we let you go, the Department of Education spent at least $1 billion DEI hiring, programming and mental health training in America's schools since 2021. Brad, unbelievable. What sort of nonsense ideology is being peddled in these departments?
Yeah, look, burn it all down, figuratively, of course. But the idea that they're using $1 billion of our money, Americans struggle to afford groceries these days, but we're being taxed to fund toxic, divisive politics based around identity, teaching some groups are inherently good and inherently oppressed and virtuous, and some are inherently bad and oppressors. And this stuff that has been shown, a lot of these diversity trainings, to not only not work, but to actually actively make things worse, to prime people to become offended unnecessarily, to see discrimination where there is none. I find it deeply concerning, but actually pretty unsurprising that the federal government is spending so much of our money. And this is just the Department of Education. So just one federal agency funneled into these kinds of toxic programs. I'm hoping that Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and others involved in the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, will lift the lid on all of this and stop this. But it's easier said than done because the US federal government is truly a behemoth. It is very good at covering up for itself and resisting this kind of sunlight. But when we do, we can see what's going on, and most of the American people aren't supportive of it. And it's not about being against racism or against discrimination. No, DEI trainings and materials and advocacy goes far beyond that into territory that I think most people would find actually divisive in its own right and often alienating. So this should all be defunded and really prompt a lot of introspection as to how we ever ended up putting people in charge and in power that ever thought something like this was a good idea.
Yeah. Brad, we have loved having you as part of the show this year, and we want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and we really look forward to having you part of the program again in 2025. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.